YouTube channel. And again, thank you to everybody hanging out with us on YouTube as we get rocking and rolling here. For those people, something was going on with the video, so I didn't get it started out of the gate, and that's ultimately what pushed us back a little bit with everything else. But glad to be back with you here again. The road trips edition. That's what we're talking about today. The best road trips you've been on, the best road venues you've been to. Of course, Clemson season opened with a neutral site game against Georgia, and that's not really what we're talking about, is it? We're not talking about a home opener against SC State or even your ACC opener this weekend at home against Georgia Tech. I'm really asking this question. When you think about great road venues and great visits that you've been on through the years, not ones you want to take. Like, look, I think we all want to go to the Swamp. I think we all want to go to Ann Arbor or Austin, Texas. I'd go to Eugene, Oregon. Man, I'd love to see Clemson take on the Oregon Ducks. But the road trips edition of this program is who or where, I guess I should say, is the best road trip you've been on. Your greatest road trip. Let us know about it. You can text us 803-450-0086. 803-450-0086. You know, I think for a lot of Clemson Tiger fans, they're probably thinking about games and times and opportunities that they maybe had to make their way up to, I would say make your way up to Boston. I mean, what is for a game against Boston College? Maybe it's a trip down to Tallahassee. I mean, honest to goodness, what's the great road trip? Because, again, you look at Clemson's schedule this year, and we were talking about the schedule, and this is kind of what got me on it. And I want to talk to Tim Beret about travel. Like, what is the range in which Clemson travels? That they have to take a plane. Do they take a plane? I can't remember. Did they fly to Charlotte? They don't fly to Columbia, I don't believe. And when did they start that kind of travel? And when was it, hey, hop on the bus, Gus, get rolling? Or is it hop on the bus, Roy? Are we still on the Roy bus? Is Clemson still, are we still around the Roy bus? Honestly, I'm not sure. But there, I got the question of the day. The QOTD, is that what it is? Is that what other shows have? The question? QOTD, right? That would be it. The question of the day. So what is your greatest road trip? I'd love to hear from you on that front. 803-450-0086. 803-450-0086. Because it is the schedule this season is not indicative of, hey, fam, let's pack up the car and get traveling. I mean, Clemson goes on the road at Raleigh. Now, I got a great story about this venue I'll get to here momentarily. On the road to Syracuse. On the road at Pittsburgh. On the road at Louisville. And at South Carolina. I mean, those are that's your selection this year, folks. It's not, quote, ideal. Now, I do know a lot of people like to go to Louisville because they like to go to the Louisville Slugger facility, maybe even make their way at some point to Churchill Downs, possibly even spending some time with some good old-fashioned Kentucky bourbon. Is it bourbon in Kentucky or whiskey? I can't keep it straight. All that being said, I'm pretty sure it's bourbon. All that being said, when you just think about the schedule that Clemson's got in front of them, I mean, you go into Syracuse for any reason? Like, what do you do? What do you do there? How far is it? I honestly don't know. I mean, is Niagara Falls? Is that something that people do when they make a road trip to Syracuse? 2 hours? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, anytime I think of Niagara Falls, I can only think of one thing, one moment in my life. Niagara Falls. Slowly I turn, step by step, inch by inch, from the old Three Stooges bit. I mean, honestly, Best road trip, your greatest road trip. Where'd you go? Maybe it was Texas A&M a couple of years ago. Honk if you're an Aggie. Maybe you loaded up the old family truckster, the four-wheel sleigh, and you headed out to Texas A&M for that game. Maybe it was the Auburn game a few years ago with Deshaun Watson and the boys surviving. Maybe it's just a short trip up to Chapel Hill, and you like and appreciate that venue. You like the ambiance of the fall in Chapel Hill. What's the best or your greatest road trip you've ever been on? Let me know. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Would love to hear from you here on the program today. Again, Clemson getting set to take on Georgia Tech this weekend. The Tigers and the Yellow Jackets facing off in Death Valley, 3:30, ABC. That's where they will begin league play. But what is your greatest or your best road trip memory that you've been on? And you know what? I want you to eliminate from this for me? Neutral site games. I've had some great memories on some neutral site games. I want to know, though, when you went into somebody else's backyard and you were like, man, I am so thankful that I am here, Swanny. This is #unbelievable. Let us know your thoughts on that here on the show that shakes the Southland. 803-450-0086. Coming up as well, Tim Beret going to be a part of the program. Would love to have you give some comments on that front, and we'll talk to him about travel as well. Let's see. Anthony says, Swanny, Lane Stadium at night. Inner Sandman. I could see that. You know, I've never been. My nephews went up to Blacksburg back in 2011 when Clemson took on Virginia Tech there. And remember, the Tigers would eventually face Virginia Tech in the championship game that season and wallop the Hokies 38-10. But that game, 23-3, the final score featured one of the silkiest, smooth touchdown runs that I can recall in a long time. Mike Bellamy had a 31-yard touchdown late in the fourth quarter to put that game on ice. The Tigers went 88 yards on 8 plays, and Bellamy gave we talk about the C.J. Spiller, K. Michael Hall, see ya, Kenny Scott, good night, the little screen pass against Georgia Tech when Clemson was wearing the all-purple uniforms. You want to see a nice little run. You want to see a guy catch a little dead leg, a little give and go, a little hitch, and a little giddy up. Go check that out. Mike Bellamy's rush for 31 yards, that touchdown against Virginia Tech back in 2011. Find it. It's got to be out there. Got to be on social media somewhere. That venue, though, I've never been, but that's one that I've heard great things about. Let's see. Jeff chimes into the program. He says, Swanny, I've been to Eugene. Fabulous place to see a game. You know, Jeff, that's certainly a long trip, right? I mean, nobody's denying that fact. I think about this, though, for a minute. Prior to what Clemson's kind of become in college football, I can remember thinking, I wish that Clemson had what Oregon has from the standpoint of, their not their stadium. I mean, not that, but like the amenities for the players. And I can remember seeing like videos, behind the scenes videos and things, and it was almost Star Wars-esque. And I still, as a member of the media, I still sort of salivate a little bit at how nice their coach media interview room is and has been. I'm assuming they haven't changed it recently, because when I've looked at it over the past, couple of years, I mean, it's still been top of the mark, big, high back chair, nice backdrop behind the coach. I mean, you're not talking about, let's just pull out a podium and put it in front of the wall and put a backdrop up. No. You're talking about top of the mark, things of that nature when it comes down to what Oregon was doing. And this would have been the time when Clemson had Chad Morris as offensive coordinator, and conversations around the country existed that sounded something like this. It was, well, I got to be honest, Clemson's Oregon on the East. I mean, you remember the Oregon East things? Not so much anymore. Right now, it's more like Oregon kind of hopes to be the Clemson of the West. Like that's sort of the mindset that maybe people have at this point. But that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And I can only imagine the difference, not necessarily the pageantry of it, but there was this show many years ago ESPN put out called The Rights of Autumn. And it broke down the history of college football from the beginning until the end. And, Clemson, in a lot of respects, still feels like one of the old school teams, and you're just kind of thankful they're back, right? Like, it's not like Oregon is this new-faced program that if you talk about the history of college football, they're not going to come up. They're going to be in the recent history of college football. And so from a fan standpoint and being on the West Coast, what's that Saturday look like? What does it feel like? Is it similar? Is it different? That's something I would like to experience on that front. 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. Spencer says, Swanny, I've been to Wake, I've been to North Carolina, and I've been to UVA. Wake Forest is a nice game day setup. And for Clemson, we talk about this league and the criticisms that it faces, and rightfully so. One of the advantages that Clemson has not only had recently, but in the past, Clemson would basically buy these games from Wake Forest and Duke. But one of the advantages that Clemson has is, man, when they go to a place like Wake Forest, dude, Clemson will take the stadium. It'll be 55% Tiger fans in the venue, 60% Clemson fans there. And that's something, we want to talk about the ACC, and everybody wants to bring up the struggles of this league. Well, quite frankly, Clemson Tiger fans, and maybe it's dwindled some. I wouldn't think, but because of, and I'll give you my reason here in a minute, but Clemson typically takes over a lot of these stadiums. Heck, a couple of years ago, we were in Columbia, and Clemson had taken over Williams-Brice. I mean, it was a dominant Clemson crowd in Williams-Brice. But I said I hesitate earlier because now with what you're paying to go to an ACC championship, a college football playoff venue, a travel to another championship game, I wonder if some of the fans who are trying to afford those types of games have pulled the throttle back on, well, I'm going to go see them play at Wake. I'm going to go catch them play in Durham against the Duke Blue Devils. I mean, that's something also to consider. Corey says Chapel Hill 20 years ago, after halftime, the wine and cheese crowd left, and we were able to end up sitting a few rows up right on the 50-yard line. Speaking of which, boy, this is a question in and of itself. Like when something like that happens in a ball game, when the home fans have checked out, or when you roll in to a game, honestly, at what point should you be able to have westward expansion seating? And what I mean by that is, at what point should you be able to move down to a better spot? Is it after the first quarter if somebody hasn't shown up? Is it after the first half? Like, when should you, as someone in the stadium, be able to look at your ticket and go, man, these are a little crummy. I'd like to be a little closer. Let me move down. I can tell you there was a game 6-7 years ago, Clemson and Boston College, I think, in Death Valley, and there were like 3 lightning delays. I mean, it was just awful. And finally, that's what they did. Man, if you were a fan that was still there after the 6-hour lightning delay or whatever it was, they were like, and we're just going to have seating wherever you would like. And if the ticket holder comes, please, remove yourself without issue from the seat. Like, why shouldn't that be the thing every game? Well, Swanny, because people would just buy all the cheap seats. And maybe the people who have the more expensive seats could sell their seats a little cheaper. Isn't that what we call, what do we call that? Capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't sell your seats for whatever price you're asking, maybe you should adjust the price. I mean, if McDonald's can't sell hamburgers, they're going to drop the price. Believe me. That's the way it works. 803-450-0086, text line, phone line. Spencer says capitalism. Yeah, I know. That was a what do you call that? I don't know. It was kind of like a lead. Kind of giving people a memento to think about it. Just giving them a minute. All right, look, Tim Bray's coming up here on the program. Again, yesterday, oh, man, there was some buzz around the Clemson program. Turned out to be really all to do about nothing. We'll touch on that coming up here on the show that shakes the Southland, rocking and rolling with you on a Thursday afternoon. Stay with us.